Hey everybody, welcome back to our Bible study. We are talking about Esther chapter 3 today, and I'm going to do it in 5 minutes. You just watch. You can download our PDF on our website at tobelikechrist.com, and so far we have the first 3 chapters available, and hopefully in about a week we'll have the whole book of Esther ready to download. In chapter 2, we talked about Esther becoming queen, and she became queen approximately 479 BC. So that's where we are in history. That's about 475 years before Jesus is born. For our characters, we have some new characters, at least one new character to introduce. So first of all, we have King Ahasuerus. He is also known as Xerxes. He reigned over the kingdom of Persia, from 486 to 464 BC. We have Mordecai, who we introduced in the last chapter. He was a Jew. His family had been brought to Susa, to Persia, when Nebuchadnezzar had conquered the city of Jerusalem about 100 years before this. So he's a Jew. He was raising Esther because she was an orphan. He was Esther's cousin. And then we have a guy named Haman. Boo, he's evil. We don't like him. You don't want to grow up and be like him. Haman was an Agagite. He was a very vengeful man who King Ahasuerus elevated to a position of high authority in the kingdom. And our map has not changed for today. It really won't change a whole lot throughout this book. We are still in Susa, the capital of Persia, where the king's palace was located. This chapter is not particularly long verse-wise. We have 15 verses, and our first section is verses 1 through 5. Mordecai refuses to bow. So King Ahasuerus promoted this man named Haman to be second in command in Susa. And as I mentioned, he was a very evil man. He was a very prideful man. The king ordered all of his servants to bow to Haman every time he went by and to pay homage to him. Now, paying homage is not a word we use a whole lot today. It can mean just to show somebody great honor, but I think in this case it may be something more akin to worship, and I'll explain why in just a moment. We see that Mordecai has an issue with this. When Haman went out of the king's gate, all of the men would bow down and pay homage to him, except for Mordecai. And when asked why, he confidently stated that he wouldn't bow down or pay homage because he was a Jew. The Jews weren't allowed to praise or worship any man like they worshiped God. And so that's why I say this homage may have been something more than just honoring a person. It seems like it bothered Mordecai's conscience. Haman didn't care whether Mordecai was conflicted about this or not. This infuriated him, and he plotted to get Mordecai back for this. So our second section, verses 6 through 15, Haman plots to kill the Jews. It wasn't enough for Haman just to get back at Mordecai. Instead, he decided that he wanted to exterminate all of Mordecai's people, the Jews. Sounds like another especially evil guy I know about in history. Rather than approaching the king with this kind of blunt request, because he needed permission to do this, he framed his desire to appear as if he was asking for something that was in the best interest of the king. Haman framed it this way, quote, "There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom. Their laws are different from those of every other people, and they do not keep the king's laws, so that it is not to the king's profit to tolerate them." He promised that if the king would give him permission to do this, that he would pay a huge sum of money, 10,000 talents of silver, to the king's treasury. And unfortunately, King Ahasuerus, he trusted Haman. And so without a whole lot of questions, he gave Haman his signet ring, which was kind of like his mark of authority, to go ahead with this plan. So the Persian scribes were all summoned, and they wrote this decree in multiple different languages, and then Haman sealed it with the king's signet ring to show that it was actually from the king. The decree was sent out to the officials throughout the kingdom, and it was instructed that all the Jews were supposed to be killed on the 13th day of the 12th month, and all of their possessions were to be plundered. When the decree was published in Susa, the whole city was thrown into confusion. So that's a quick rundown of chapter 3, and there's a huge dilemma here. What's going to happen to the Jews? But also, the king has just married a Jew, and he doesn't realize it. That's Esther. So what's going to happen with this situation? All right, so now for our application. There's a reason that the apostles in the New Testament provide a list of qualities that a man must possess in order to be appointed into leadership in the church. You can read about those in 1 Timothy and the book of Titus. Haman seems like he was really a smooth talker. He got the king to do what he wanted, to give him permission, by making it look like he was doing the king a favor by getting rid of dissidents in the empire, when that really wasn't what he was doing at all. And I think it's very wise that the Holy Spirit and Paul, when they describe these leadership qualities that a person needs to have, those qualities have less to do with somebody's words and more to do with their lifestyle. The life and the character of a candidate for eldership must be examined, not merely his words. If these vetting qualifications are ignored and a man slips his way into leadership with his smooth tongue, it can have devastating consequences. And I think we see that here with Haman, a man who was had a what do you say, was silver tongue or something. He was a smooth talker, but his character was depraved. So that is our Bible study in Esther 3. I think I made it in 5 minutes. Maybe. That was close.